My name is Bobby Brownlee, and it is my privilege to introduce the 2016 candidates for our Board of Directors. On the first Saturday in March, the Pecan Plantation Owners Association will elect 3 new board members to join the 6 continuing members. Today we have the opportunity to meet 6 candidates for those 3 places. Each candidate will present his or her perspective of governance for our association. Each will give an overview of his qualifications, his or her background, and his or her plans for the association. Candidates, each of you has 5 minutes to speak to your concerns and your plans for our association. We will signal you when you have 1 minute remaining. The candidates will be appearing in alphabetical order, beginning with Mr. Bob Cote, who has many years' experience in management consultant and as an internal auditor. Mr. Cote is a past president of Pecan Plantation Owners Association. Mr. Cote?
Thank you, Bobby. I'm running for the Board of Directors because I believe the Pecan Plantation is probably one of the best places to live in this country. And one of the reasons why most of us came here and invested in our futures. The Board of Directors, in my view, is responsible, according to the bylaws, with managing the affairs of the association and for ensuring that our businesses are managed effectively and efficiently, that our money is spent wisely, that our system of internal controls are sound and efficient, and that our assets are safeguarded. Now, I've done this before. My wife tells me, you know, why are you doing this? Well, I said, because, you know, I've been retired now for about 1.5 years, and she basically told me that she married me for life, but not for lunch, and that I was getting on her nerves and I should find something to do with my time. So that's why I'm here. And I hope I can bring my years of experience in management controls, and be of some value in keeping this place the place that we love and the place that we want it to be. So with that, I hope you'll vote for me. And if you do, I promise you that I'll come to work and I will do my best to represent you, because I believe the members of this association are the shareholders, and that all decisions that are made by our Board of Directors should be made with you, the members, in mind. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Cote.
Okay, you're welcome.
Mr. Roger Eads, who is a Navy veteran with background in both leadership in business and community. Mr. Eads currently serves on the PPOA Finance Committee. Mr. Eads.
Thank you. Good afternoon. It's a great pleasure to be here and spend a few minutes with you, kind of discuss the Board of Directors of the PPOA. As she indicated, I currently serve on the Finance Committee, and so it's been a great fortune of mine to be able to witness how the board functions. I've been there 2 years, and I've been greatly impressed with the board functions. I think they've done an outstanding job regarding not only the Brazos room, the upgrading of the kitchen, but a general facelift of the whole country club. It's important that when you go on a new board, that you come on there, and the main thing you need to do when you first join a board is you listen. It's important that you listen. You learn the dynamics of that board. You spend time understanding the people that are on their board, understanding what they stand for and their priorities. I don't believe as a new board member that you should obviously come on with your own agenda or your own issues. It's important that you learn to work with everybody on that board, but more than that, that you learn to work with other people, the committees, management, and even the members. Everyone has an opinion. Although it's often said that everyone has knowledge of the problem, But in many ways, do they truly understand the problem? And that's what a board does. They look at it, they access it. They look at it and they check, what is it we need to do? And they work closely with management. Management runs the country club. And I say that meaning that day to day, they do the activities. Board of directors has oversight over them. That's their job. They give them directions. They plant the priorities. They set the budgets. So it's very important that they have a close relationship and they work together to accomplish all the goals. I think one of the biggest things that the board has done recently is they have a large budget amount to address the issues that we have in the drainage. We have a huge drainage problem, and it was very apparent during the rains that it was worse than we ever imagined. And so I'm glad to see that they've taken an aggressive view on that they're doing that. And that's what a board needs to do. They need to look at the issues. I ask that each of us work together. We work closely with those committees, and we get together and we work together to accomplish all this. If I am elected, I will promise you I will work with the board, I will listen. Now, one of the things that's so understanding about working with the board, that doesn't mean that there will not be disagreements, that we won't have discussions. You have open debates, you have discussions, you can disagree. There's nothing wrong with disagreement. And the reason why there's nothing wrong with that, if everyone agreed with all issues, why do you need a board? So it's important that you do talk and you learn and you listen. We have all kinds of experience on the board. And I would greatly appreciate the opportunity to serve with them and use my experience to that. I want you as members, I appreciate your vote, but then again, please vote. But again, if you ever have a problem and it's not being addressed, you don't feel by the board or through management, please feel free to call me at any time. Again, thank you for this opportunity to spend with you. Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Eads.
Thank you.
Ms. Beverly Franzen, a past PPOA board member and Habitat for Humanity volunteer, has extensive professional experience in human resources and in building relationships. Ms. Franzen.
Thank you, Bobby. Hi, my name is Bev Franzen, and I'm running for the Board of Directors for the Pecan Plantation Owners Association. My name and face may sound familiar and look familiar, as I just got off the board in March of 2015, and I've had many come up and ask why I'm running for the board again. Some have even said, "Are you crazy? Why are you running for the board again?" But the honest answer is I truly enjoyed representing you as members of Pecan Association. While I was on the board, I think I was an honest board member. I was very flexible. I was very open to all inputs and all issues and all sides. I didn't have my own agenda, and I didn't have a view of how I thought things should be. And I worked very well with the boards. And I was very fortunate that the three boards I served on, we all felt the same way. We left our own thoughts and agendas in the door, and when the door closed, we worked together for the common good of Pecan Plantation. Some of the things when I look back on the 3 years that I'm very proud of to say I was a part of was the first one, not many members are probably aware of, a compensation program we put in place for our employees. This compensation program built salary structures that allowed our employees to be slotted based on market pay. We put in a merit pay system that now pays for performance versus longevity. We put in a program called the Internal Job Posting Program that encourages long-term employment with our association so that someone isn't coming in for a job waiting for a better job to come along. An example of how well that program has worked for our employees and therefore for our members is Aaron at the front desk. Aaron was hired as a wait staff member. When the program was put in place, he applied for an open position in the accounting department, which he got. He then, a position a couple years later, came open at the front desk, and he applied for that position, which he also received. All of these changes and progressions in his employment with Pecan means better pay and more responsibility, and Aaron now is the supervisor of the front desk. So very proud of that type of things that we've done on behalf of the employees. Some things that we have done on behalf of the members, I worked with the Long Range Planning Committee to put in place the long range plan that's in place now. We've always had a lot of long-range plans, but they seem to have gotten shelved somewhere along the way. But now we have a document that really works and looks long-term through your long-range planning committee at what Pecan is going to need going down the road. When I look ahead to Pecan, every year there's always new challenges, and there certainly will be challenges for the board that's elected this year. The ones that come to my mind is the infrastructure of Pecan. Pecan is 40 years old plus, and anything that has lasted that long or been around that long is going to be needing some changing and some updating and modifications. And we've certainly seen that with our roads, and we've seen it with our drainage program. The infrastructure committee at Pecan is working very hard to make sure all drainage issues are being addressed, and the board is working very hard to get those approved. I also see that the population of Pecan is going to continue to grow. We have 120 new homes that are going to be put on Plantation Boulevard, and with the growth, not only does that mean more traffic, more crowdedness on the roads, it also means more stress on our infrastructure, our amenities, and so we have to plan for that in the future. So I sat before you 4 years ago asking for your vote, and I am now once again asking you to vote and support me as a candidate and a board member for this upcoming board election. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Ms. Franzen.
Thank you.
Mr. Doug Green is retired from the United States Navy, where he was a test pilot, and he's also retired from American Airlines, where he was a captain. Here in Pecan, Mr. Green has served on the Grounds Committee and on the Linmo Committee. Mr. Green.
Thank you very much. Just to give you a little background information, I grew up in Georgia, graduated from school, and then joined the Navy, went off to Aviation Officer Candidate School in Pensacola. My first tour in the Navy was flying P-3s out of Keflavik, keeping tabs of the Soviet ballistic missile submarines. I eventually talked my way into letting them transition to A-6s, and I did 2 deployments on the USS Enterprise in the Indian Ocean. After 20 years, I retired from the Navy. I have people frequently will stop me, and when they find out that I'm a Navy and veteran, and they'll say, "Thank you for your service." And I'd like to say, no, don't thank me. Let me thank you for giving me the opportunity to work with some of the best people in the world and serve my country. And the truth be told, the real heroes are our spouses and children who stay behind and allow us to serve our country. After I got out of the Navy, I joined American Airlines, and first 10 years was great with American Airlines, and then 9/11 occurred. We went through a major reduction in service. I wound up 50% pay cut, transferred to New York City, living in a crash pad with 15 other pilots. Just before I retired from American, I was walking through the terminal at DFW, and I had this young girl pick me out of the crowd and just came straight to me, threw her arms out, and obviously wanted to hug. So I threw my arms around her and swept her off her feet. She was 4 years old, and she says, "I just wanted to thank you for taking me to visit my grandparents." Well, I realized how lucky I was that people would put their trust and faith in me and allow me to do a job like flying people around the country. Well, 3 years ago, my wife and I joined. Well, I'd like to add, to sum it up, that I think I've been pretty lucky in life. I've had 2 great jobs, 2 great careers. I like to contribute all that I have a positive mental attitude. I've always looked at life as an optimist and not a pessimist. I look at the glass being half full and not half empty. Well, 3 years ago, my wife and I came to Pecan Plantation, and we just thoroughly enjoyed it. Probably have made more friends, met more great people here than anywhere since leaving the Navy. And it's truly been a pleasure living at Pecan. Last year I joined got interested in long-range planning and the Linmo agreement, and wound up volunteering And I wound up on the grounds committee, and just rewarding work. And it impresses me how much the members of Pecan Plantation make this place work, and how important it is that we take an active role in management of PPOA. I was approached by a couple of friends of mine to run for the board, and I'm pleased to volunteer. There are lots of challenges going forward. You know, we're now up to 3,000 members. We've authorized 1,500 more membership. It's going to increase our ranks by 50%. There are a lot of challenges facing us. You know, we have the 200 acres option for the third golf course, and that expires this year. We'll lose it. We really need to negotiate it, or at least address that issue. We have a health club that's being proposed. It's another issue that we need to address. It's going to take a lot of serious leadership and a lot of scrutiny by all the members of Pecan Plantation. I'd like to be involved in the process and ask all the hard questions and make sure that what we do preserves the quality of life and property values, and more importantly, represents the wishes of all the members of Pecan Plantation. If you're looking for a board member with an agenda and wants to hold management, wants to shake up management, I'm not your candidate. If you want a board member to sit around the table and nod his head with 8 other members, again, I'm not your candidate. What I'd like to do is be there to provide constructive criticism and help solve the issues going forward. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Mr. Green.
Thank you.
Mr. Joe Hartman, who has lived in Pecan since 2012, currently chairs the Marina Committee. A retired Army Lieutenant Colonel, Mr. Hartman has a background in leadership and in community service. Mr. Hartman.
Good evening, or whatever time of day it happens to be when you're watching this video. I just want to say thank you to all the many volunteers that work all over the Pecan Plantation. These are the people that really make it work with our excellent staff. As Bobby stated, we've been here, my wife and I have been here approximately 4 years. I joined the Marina Committee in 2 months after I arrived, and have been the chairperson for that for the last 2.5 years. I've learned a great deal in the 40+ years of civil service and military service about working with different organizations of all levels, from the little teeny squad, which is 4 or 5 people, to organizations of 600 to 1,200 people as the battalion that I was the commander of. The main goals that I have are to keep Pecan moving in a forward direction, not let it slip back into other areas where the atmosphere isn't quite as conducive to the community as ours are. I attended the newcomers orientation 2 weeks ago, and it was really amazing at how many of the new people had invited their family members to come here and buy residence and become part of the community. That to me was a big plus for our community. I think we should continue to try to achieve the things that they are looking for. I also think we need to work on some of the projects like the infrastructure. The roads and grounds are something that always needs to have maintenance. It is the first thing that people see. During the last 2 years ago, when we were having a severe drought, the board was able to approve the extension of a boat ramp, which made our marina a more valuable asset for the community during the time of the drought. We were fortunate in the fact that we were the only facility open on the lake that could handle any incoming boats. I want to try to keep the dues reasonable. Now, I'm not going to say anything like we'll never raise our homeowners' fees, because that would be just not a smart thing to do. But I do want to make sure we stay financially sound, keep with a complete realization that we have many people living on a fixed income. And so if those rates go up, it does have an impact on their life, and we need to take that into account. Use the money very carefully, make sure it's in a good sound investments. Some of the upcoming projects that we're looking at on the board and different committees, there is a discussion of a new hangar for the airport. That is in the study phase. There's the airport committee has got proposals in mind. They are working with the board, but that probably will take a general vote of the community due to the large amount of money that they are asking for. Another project that's coming up would be the fitness center. My suggestion on that is, with the fitness center being built, the YMCA in Acton, see what the capabilities are of that facility, and then make sure that we still have a need for a facility here before we go and invest in a building to make one. Now, with pickleball becoming a very popular endeavor, we may want to look at expanding the indoor capability. We have just recently added outdoor capability for pickleball courts. So that'll be something of the future that we'll be able to use. I have not played that sport yet. I'm planning on trying it out in the next couple of weeks. But my bottom line is that I want to do the best I can to serve all of you in the community. I thank you very much for the opportunity.
And thank you, Mr. Hartman. Mr. John Shirley is retired from the Houston Police Department following 20 years service in several capacities, including financial crimes and homicide investigations. Mr. Shirley currently serves on the National Board of Directors for Oath Keepers. Mr. Shirley.
Thank you for your time today. I want to start off by saying that while I'm a relatively new resident here in Pecan, my wife and I have actually only been here for about 1.5 years or 2 years. I want to say in that time I've really learned to love where I live, and I think that Pecan is probably the best kept secret in the entire state. With my background in law enforcement, I am passionate about security. And before I get into anything further on that, I want to say I think Pecan is safe. It's very safe, probably one of the safest places in the state of Texas. But that being said, I think there are probably some improvements that need to be made in the current security section. The first thing I'd like to see the board do is modernize the guest and visitor entry procedures. Right now, I know it's cumbersome for especially the security members having to answer the phone call repeatedly or have to depend on the guest list being faxed in and then manually entered. I would like to see the guest entry procedures modernized with computer systems that would allow members to log on to the current existing website and be able to enter their guests in from there, and that would make it more efficient for the people to come in and visit Pecan. Also, I would like to see security personnel required to be certified and receive ongoing training to make sure they keep up with current trends. I believe that we pay good money for the security we have, and while they do a good job, I believe they could do a better job. And I think a big step toward that would be certification and training. Another issue that I think that has been brought to my attention since I've been here is that there's some frustration by some people who live in Pecan that when they call security about an issue, either criminal related or just something else that security should be interested in, a lot of times the answer they get is, you just need to call the county sheriff. And while I understand that the county sheriff serves an important function and the primary function when it comes to investigating crimes, I believe it's the responsibility of Pecan Security to also run an independent investigation that reports back to the board of directors, or the security director and then the board of directors on a monthly basis. In private industry, anytime there's an issue, criminal-wise or other, security provides a full investigation because there's a concurrent issue when you have crime going on that needs to be brought to the attention of the board for possible rectification. Along that line, I've also heard complaints that when guests or teens of residents, when they are caught doing improper things like criminal mischief or vandalism, nothing is ever really done about it. And I think it's time for the board to look at imposing fining members when their guests or their children vandalize other members' property or vandalize Pecan PPOA property as well. That would put the burden of cutting down on the criminal mischief and other low-level crime elements on the members and hopefully improve the life for everybody who live here. A big idea that I have, it would be setting up a security auxiliary that would run similar to the fire and EMS auxiliary, and they could raise money for the training that I think is necessary. They could raise money for better equipment. I also think that part of the security auxiliary would be creating a more organized and more effective neighborhood watch program. And I'd like to see that program grow to the point and have enough volunteers to where the day shift gate security could be manned by volunteers. That would allow us to once again have 24-hour security in Pecan, so we'd have 24-hour night patrols and 24-hour gate security. I know that's an important thing that a lot of the members say that used to be here that they miss, and I believe through having a security auxiliary we could get that accomplished. Lastly, I think that Pecan is in dire need of an evacuation plan. Being our proximity to the power plant and also the fact that we are surrounded by a river, we have probably a very good reason to have an evacuation plan. And not just a plan that's posted on the board inside the clubhouse, but an effective plan that can be practiced by the employees to get as many people out of Pecan as quickly as possible. That would include also coordinating possibly block captains or section captains who could help coordinate an evacuation should one need to take place, and we can get everybody out here as quickly and safely as possible. Finally, thank you for your time, and I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Shirley.
Thank you.
And thank you, board candidates, for your dedication to Pecan Plantation and your willingness to share your time and your expertise in service to our community.